A kind day to you all, I'm Kinsmarck, and acknowledgement ahead of time, this is a slight change in format from my usual first impressions series, live commentary over gameplay, etc., as I didn't actually intend to create an episode about today's topic. However, I keep getting comments and messages every now and again asking me to cover a certain game here on the channel. And I confess I ignored them for a while, because when I first played said game at its launch, prior to ever even creating this channel, I didn't enjoy it. And so I set aside that idea for a time. And then, one evening some time ago, another comment asked me to check it out, and I decided, alright, let me see if it's changed since I last played it. It was years ago after all, and so I reinstalled Planetside 2 for the first time since it came out, and spent a few hours off camera just checking it out to see if I enjoyed it enough to even make a few episodes covering it. I chronicled my assessment of the experience in a text post immediately afterward, though it seems it's come to few people's notice, as I've once again received a handful of requests to cover it, and I do like to honor such requests as far as I can. Its fans are ardent, I'll give them that. So I shall cover here again my impressions of Planetside 2, the persistent world competitive FPS after coming to it again for the first time in years. Consider this a dramatic reading of sorts of my first assessment. And I can say with unwavering certainty that it's one of the very worst new player experiences I've ever had with a game. It was mesmerizingly terrible at giving a positive first impression. Despite having just installed what one should reasonably assume was the latest version via Steam, first of all, the game still required a lengthy patching process from its own launcher upon startup, as well as a third-party registration, all slight annoyances that add up, without the ability to sync with my Steam account, of course. The tutorial is stretched over a needlessly expansive area, and the narrator's lines frequently just merge into one another and play over each other as one moves along ahead of the plotting pace that it wants one to. Needless to say, this renders any help such lines could lend incomprehensible and therefore useless, leaving one to flail about and learn through trial and error rather than instruction instead. The very first thing I experienced upon connecting to an instant action is getting spawn killed with an airstrike. Not 1 second, and that isn't an exaggeration at all, after setting foot on the ground. Fan-fucking-tastic. The UI is one of the very worst I've ever encountered in terms of giving mechanical information to new players. I know it shows information on controlled areas, flashpoints, and how many friendlies and hostiles are detected in an area, etc., and all that's nice. However, there are some much more practical questions it seems intent on not answering. Where can I spawn? How can I change respawn locations? Why, when I attempt to decipher the help menu tooltips for the map and find that I must use warp facilities to change spawn regions, am I greeted with an insta-death restricted area message upon attempting to reach one of those facilities? Who knows? I'm just constantly told to click the instant action tab and let the game carry me off to wherever it thinks I'm needed, regardless of whether I want that region or not. When I attempted to ask other players in the game, in chat, of course, for clarification in-game during the respawn interim of yet another spawn kill, another one, and then another, I had time to chat. I was greeted with the following automated message: "The dead can't speak." I actually uttered an "are you fucking kidding me" aloud in my office at this point. I know Planetside 2 is an incredibly well-respected game, one with a cult following, and I'm sure once one is familiar with it that there's some reason for that. This isn't about that. This isn't a comprehensive review, nor is it a commentary upon the overall quality of the game. This is simply a commentary regarding the initial impressions its current version gave to a new, uninitiated player. The short version is this: I felt unwelcome. Not by the players, not by my squad, not by my faction, but by the game itself. As a newcomer to Planetside 2. At every turn, it seemed as though I was getting punished for not knowing things that a proper tutorial should have taught me, for not realizing the answers to questions I didn't even realize I needed to ask. It felt as if it were deliberately obfuscating critical information that it just expected me to know without proper instruction. I'll make this as clear as I can. My initial impressions of Planetside 2 were so awfully negative that I've no desire to learn the lessons necessary to further understand the game. I'm sure the answers are there. I just don't care. I'm sure plenty of you enjoy the game and your knowledge of them. And to you I say, have fun. Enjoy it. It just isn't for me. At all, ever, and never will. You have either greater patience or teachers than I. I'm just left with such a poor impression of the experience that I've no inclination to pursue it any further whatsoever. I've left the game again, and this time I'm not returning for any reason. I'm sure my feelings will annoy some commenters, already typing away at their keyboards, surely, and I'm well aware of this game's community's dedicated nature. And to those people, I say, please come, comment, and enlighten the other players in the ways of this game, that they might learn the details and fundamentals alike from sources more reliable than its own tutorial, and enjoy it more than I can, armed with the insights you can provide them. And that's pretty much all I have to say on the matter. Consider it as what it is. It isn't all that praise-inducing, however. Again, a game that has a community as ardent and dedicated and continual as Planetside 2 surely has something that it clearly offers to those people. I just can't feel any compulsion to slog through the process of getting to the fun parts. So, that's pretty much all I have here today. Thank you all kindly for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, consider checking out our Patreon to help us keep the show alive. I'm Kinsmarck here at Ruffle, and as always, I wish you all good gaming and Godspeed.